I'm so excited to be here in this wonderful meeting we're having with Gregg Braden, with Anita Moorjani, with Dr. Shamini Jain, and of course, my dear friend, all my friends, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who will be with us here in my town of Sedona in June 10th through the 14th for a very special conference, Elevating Planetary Consciousness Through Personal Healing. And what an ensemble of speakers, teachings, energies, experiences we're going to have. So here we go. Please, Gregg, please share with us a little bit. What are you going to bring? What are you going to share with the participants that will be joining us?
Ilan, I'm happy to do that. And before I even do, I just want to thank you for your vision and your dedication, your perseverance to bring us together for the very first
Perseverance,
time in this
absolutely.
way. We have never taught together in this way, the four of us. And I'm honored to be with all of you, my dear friends, my dear colleagues. And I think it's a really important program for a number of reasons. But I'm going to share a quick story I think that illustrates precisely where we're going here. We're talking about our soul's journey. And there are many different ideas of what that journey can look like. And many people that write to us, to our office, envision it as this very esoteric kind of journey that's out there, but they can't quite seem to get to it because life keeps getting in the way. So the story, there was a man not long ago that moved into our neighborhood from another state. He retired early and he came to the high deserts of northern New Mexico, and he said he came to find his spiritual path was the term that he used. And I said, well, how's that going? And he said, I can't seem to get started because there's so many things that are going on that are getting in the way. And he was having problems building a house, and his mom had just passed. He was having financial problems. People were letting him down with promises that helped to build the house. He said, man, there's just so much going on. I can't get this spiritual journey started. And I asked him, I said, have you ever considered that maybe all those things are part of your spiritual journey? And he had not. And I think that's the point. We're living a time of extremes, and everybody is being tested in some way. And I think if we can begin to embrace the fact that whatever crosses our paths is exactly what we need in this moment in time to elevate us as individuals and collectively to help us move into a place where we thrive in this emerging world, not just survive. That's a very different way of thinking about life and our place in the world. So this program we have put together to help us to recognize precisely what that means, but then to develop the tools from our unique lifelong studies and perspectives so that we can navigate our time of extremes, navigate our life's journey in a healthy way, in a joyous way, so that it's not so fearful when things seem to go in a way that's unexpected. So I'll stop there for now, Ilan, but in a nutshell, I think this is the foundation, and my colleagues I know are going to add to this, but we're all in this journey together, and that's what makes it such an exciting program. And wow, to be able to offer this in Sedona, Arizona in June, what an amazing experience. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. And I have to say, there will be surprises that I cannot even talk about right now that will occur amongst the presenters for the pleasure of our attendees.
There
And
are
I hope,
always surprises.
yeah, well, I hope everyone's really intrigued when they hear that. So,
Yeah, and not only we all waiting for you, Sedona, the mountains, the energies here, the vortices, they're waiting for you too. They are so powerful, so transformative. So please, Dr. Shamini, please share with us what you bring to our special time together.
Well, I'll tell you, Alon and everybody, what is coming to me when I have these conversations with friends, family members, and even strangers is part of our soul journey, I believe, in this time, as Greg was speaking to. We have to embrace everything that's here, right? As part of our soul journey. It's so important. And I've recognized throughout my life, I think being a scientist and, exploring these worlds of science and spirituality, because they're really not separate, that many people at this time are really struggling with and hungering for what we might call integration, right? That is really coming to a full sense of understanding of who we are and being able to freely express that, how important it is. And I'm really excited for us to explore all the ways that we can integrate and what creative expression does for us in that realm, what working with sound does with us in that realm. So while I am definitely I'm a science nerd, I will admit it. So I will be sharing a lot of what we know about the science of the soul, in many ways, from the ancient perspectives, including Jainism and other paths, tantric paths and others, as well as sort of the modern science of how we understand our soul connection to healing and what that means, that healing literally is a return to the soul. How are we actually uncovering that in science? We're going to explore all of those beautiful areas, not just with me, but with many of us here. But also, we're going to come into a lot of collective joy in our practice, in integration, because it's not just for our minds. I mean, the program is not just going to be for our minds. This is a time for us to come together in soul community. And a lot of that is going to be elevating our sense of joy in authenticity. And so we're going to be exploring that a lot. At least I'll be exploring that a lot with folks. How do we really come into resonance and integrate all these different so-called separate parts of ourselves so that we can really stand in our authenticity in a way that just inspires joy, not just in ourselves, but for others. So I'm really excited for that.
Oh, that was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. And I really love how you talk about integration of our soul through vibrations, through the energy. And that's really what it's all about, coming together in unity as a collective, because we're doing this journey together. Also individually, but also planetary. And that's the concept and the energies that move us through to this place, to this focal point here in Sedona together in June. And please, I'd like to ask Anita, what will you bring? What will you share with us from your soul and heart?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, I am super excited, like the rest of you, first of all, to do this together with all of you, because I think as it is just the energy that we can create together, I think will be uplifting for us, and I'm sure for the audience as well, just what we bring together. And I'm super excited to be in Sedona because the energies there is so uplifting and amazing. And for me, what I plan to bring is I would like to bring a deeper awareness of what it means to be a consciously aware being in this current times. One of the things that I've discovered is that many of our old paradigms of what it means to be consciously aware or what it means to be spiritual, all the old beliefs, the old paradigms, they don't work anymore. They're just not working. And so I would like to speak about that and to teach people and to explain to them what we need, what conscious awareness looks like, feels like, and what it is in today's world. Because the world today is very different. We're navigating a completely different terrain. It's a different playing field. We're dealing with the internet. We're dealing with social media. We're dealing with socializing with people in a way we never had to before. And people, instead of coming together with the advent of social media and the internet, they're actually coming apart. They're becoming much more divisive and dismissive of anyone who doesn't agree with them. I want to share something from my own personal journey that's happened, that's brought me on this particular trajectory of my soul's growth, and why and how my own presentation has grown and evolved and is changing. I actually, towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, experienced total and complete burnout. And I mean literal burnout, because I was I was having panic attacks, feeling anxiety, unable to get out of bed. Was seeing multiple doctors. Nobody had any answers. I had a lot of physical symptoms, which they would give me meds for, which would work for a while, and then it would stop working. But when I turned inward, I understood why I was burned out. I was burned out because I was listening to all the voices outside, the voices coming at me from my audience, from the public, from social media. And I was trying to unite everybody. And I wasn't listening to what my inner self wanted. I wasn't listening to my guidance. I was listening to the voices outside. And trying to please everybody when views are so opposed at the moment was really burning me out. And I felt no matter what I was doing, there was still criticism coming from certain camps. And I realized that we, especially if you're someone who's highly sensitive and if you're an empath, that's the other thing I'm going to talk about, navigating this world as a sensitive, intuitive person. That's getting harder too with the playing field the way it is. And so I want to give people tools on that. But if you are a sensitive person and an empath, you're going to feel criticisms and all in your body. And it's not easy because when you're a child, you are socialized to please your family members and to please the people around you. But in today's world, if you have been socialized to do that and you're sensitive to people's needs and desires, you're not built to please millions of people that are following you on social media and in the world and who are writing reviews on your work and your books. You're not built for that. So how do you navigate that and still be someone who brings light and sparks joy in other people? That's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. And I want to also break down some of the myths of what spirituality is supposed to be and what it looks like in the traditional way. Because one of the things I was dealing with is when I would stand up for myself, when I did practice certain tools that I myself was tuning into, I was dealing with people in the public who were saying, oh, but that's not spiritual. Well, in the new paradigm, there are certain things that may not have been accepted in the past, but today is spiritual because the light that you shine in the world comes from within. So you first have to honor yourself. And so these are the kinds of things that I'm going to unravel. It's about being a consciously aware being in the 21st century. And when you are a consciously aware being, you shine a light that can help to actually help to lighten the whole world, because we are all connected. When you are somebody that is suffering and feeling burned out, then because you're connected and we're all facets of one, then you're not doing anyone any favors. If each of us took responsibility for only ourselves to be a consciously aware being, if each person did it, we would have a consciously aware planet. So that's what I would like to bring.
Well, that was so beautiful, Anita, and so profound from someone who actually been in the light and came back. And for me, you are a master of the soul, a master empath, a master connector, and one of the most uplifting souls humans on the planet I experience. And your love is boundless. And I just adore you. And I'm so much looking forward to meet you again, this time in Sedona in June. Thank you so much, Anita.
I got chills. I adore you too, Elan. Thank you.
And now to my dear friend, I'm sorry, I gotta call you like that, Dr. Brucey. Brucey, the master epigenetics, and for the last 50, 60 years, changing planetary consciousness, one continent, one heart at a time. And so, Brucey, what are you bringing to us here in Sedona this June, the creator of heaven on earth?
Well, what I'm bringing is an addition to all the wonderful insights offered by my dear esteemed friends and colleagues on this. There's a historical perspective, there's an understanding of an experiential perspective, there's an insight from a scientific perspective, and I'd like to put a few of those together from a biological perspective, because we are indeed facing something very unique at this time in our planet. And the point about it is, if you are surfing the web or reading the news or just looking out your window, you can see the world is in a state of upheaval right now. Now, you could look at it as, wow, what a bunch of collection of accidents all happening at the same time. And I go, no, everything that's happening is part of a major picture that we're not focusing on. And that is this: humans have created a situation on this planet that is not sustainable. The way we are using the resources, the way we're polluting the environment, we're undermining the web of life. Now, the idea about that, and it's important to us, is we are part of that web of life. We're not above it, we're it. And when the web of life falls, so does human civilization. In fact, the fall of human civilization is so pronounced at this time that even NASA has written from collective science all over the planet, the understanding that industrial civilization, the one that we're experiencing right now, is facing, and I want to emphasize, a irreversible collapse. This is a fact. We have pushed the limits so far, and the way we lived on this planet, out of balance, out of harmony, that we are creating our own extinction. In fact, science has been telling civilization for 15 years, we're facing what is called the sixth mass extinction of life. And I go, well, what does that mean? Well, the first thing is, obviously, there were 5 previous mass extinctions. The big one that we might be familiar with was 66 million years ago, the last one. And that's when the Earth was flush with forests and dinosaurs. And a comet hit near the Yucatan Peninsula, upended the web of life. The dinosaurs disappeared, 75% of life disappeared, and we started all over again. This is the 6th time this has happened where the life was thriving on the planet, and up to 90% of life disappeared through catastrophe. But the previous catastrophes were natural things: a comet hitting the Earth, tectonic plates, volcanic activity, earthquakes, all that kind of stuff. But what we're facing right now is a 6th mass extinction, and it's due to human behavior. And I go, well, why is that relevant? Well, if we're causing it, well, damn it, we better start doing something to get out of the way of this. And nature is calling on us. All the symptoms that we see are signs that say you are not sustainable. And to get into sustainable, we have to understand we are living beings in a living world, the biosphere. And that we have to understand that a garden, which is where we came from, a garden is the height of cooperativity. A garden is not a battleground. And look what we've done to the garden. We've done. So there's a point that says, then we have to do something different. We have to wake up. And the point is very clearly, yes. And the chaos that you see going around the world is not an accident, because it says the structure of our civilization up to this point is the cause of the mass extinction. And we can't build the sustainable civilization on the foundation of the existing civilization. So when you look out the window and you see it's falling apart, people like myself go, oh yeah, great. Why? Because it's the pathway to create a new sustainable world. Those that want to hold on to the past don't recognize that past, or the current, is really the cause of the problem. We have to let go and start to come together in a different way. Behind all of this is something I never even knew of for almost half of my life. Well, more than half my life. I never believed in spirituality. I was the science guy: proteins, genes, chemicals, body, mechanical. And my studies on cells opened me up to a whole new world of understanding, revealed to me the science of epigenetics, how consciousness is creating our life experiences, opened me up into the world of quantum physics, which everybody goes, like me, quantum physics, that's the weird one. that's scary. And I remember having that choice at the university to get my degree. I had to take a physics course. And of course, there was the conventional classical physics and quantum physics. Who in their right mind wanted to be a biologist, wanted to do that crazy, weird physics? So I didn't know about it until the cells led me on that adventure. The thing I learned about this was the most revolutionary experience for me as an individual and as a scientist was through the world of quantum physics and the nature of cell biology. We can recognize that we are indeed spiritual entities, energy fields. If you want to be scientific, we're energy fields, but we're each receiving our own piece of that field. We're each having a spirit, a soul. And what blew my mind, and I want to really translate to people, is an understanding, oh my goodness, how this soul interfaces the body, and how this soul interfaces the mind, and how through consciousness we're creating everything that's in front of us. And that sounds like, oh, well, that's, new agey. And I go, no, listen, quantum physics, which I can give you reasons to, for my perception, the most valid science on this planet. Principle number one, listen, consciousness is creating our life experiences. And that is from the most profound basis of science on the planet. The question is this, well, how's that working out for you? Are you creating the heaven on earth that we can create anything? Or are we creating something that's contributing to this mess that we're observing? And when we start to recognize that we are creators, then it's a really important part to recognize a word. I hate to say it, maybe I should whisper it, but it's called responsibility. We have to start taking responsible actions because we are creators. We just didn't know we were programmed, and that we have to get out of the program. And all the wonderful people here, Alon brought together, we have Sharmini and Anita and my dear brother Gregg. All of us have understood this connection between the spiritual realm and the manifestation realm of where we're at. And coming together in Sedona, a vortex of energy. Oh no, not new age, that's quantum physics. A vortex of energy, and the energy that will be brought together by the four of us is so exciting to me as being just a participant in it, because there's a big picture, and this big picture comes to clarity with the four of us each talking about our special part of the connection to something that people talk about but really don't have any understanding of. Oh yeah, my spirit. And I go, wow, there's physics, there's biology, there's so much to see here. And so I'm so honored to help bring clarity into showing, yeah, spirituality is actually quantum physics affecting our biology. And when we understand that as creators, then we are empowered to manifest heaven on earth. And I say this as a practitioner of experiencing it myself, a guy who never believed in that stuff, following the principles the cells revealed to me, my colleagues have revealed to me, and putting that all together and manifesting this. And I want to offer the science of the spiritual mind connection. I want to offer insights, if you understand the mechanics of that, of how to live the healthy and happy, harmonious life on this planet as a creator. And so I want to thank Elon for bringing us all together, because I see this wonderful community of my dear friends building and creating a picture of the potential on this planet.
You know, Bruce, if I might, reflecting on what everyone here has said, and thinking back to what Gregg started with, the idea that part of our soul journey is really to embrace where we are in the here and now, the quote, good and the bad of it. And, my comments on, part of that is integrating all those aspects of who we are and really sitting with those and celebrating all of those things that we think are different in others, in ourselves, and really coming to an integration, thinking about what Anita said about self-love. Really, Anita, is how I'm really feeling about what you've said, that part of self-love means you're not pleasing everyone, right? That you've got to take that time to go inward. And then Bruce, you talking about when we do all these things, we actually have the energy to take responsibility, right? Because I think all of us know that there are these things that we need to do as a human family at this point. And one of the questions I think that many people have sometimes is, well, I know this, like I know that we can create differently. I know that we can. We're creators. How do I get the energy to move forward in that way? How do I stay nurtured with the abundant energy and light of my soul in today's times? And and I know that for me personally, I'm super excited to learn from all of you, because I know that our fields are going to help to hold that space.
Yeah. Shamini, I just want to chime in on what you're saying here, and what everyone, first thank all of you just for, I'm so enthralled just by what I'm hearing from you right now. And I have so much love and deep respect for each of you, and you've dedicated your adult lives to this journey. When Elon invited me to speak first, he was asking about why we came together for this program, not what I'm going to bring to the program. So I'd just like to say a few words about specifically what I hope to bring to this program, my plan. The world that we're living in right now is indoctrinating us and our children into believing that we are flawed as a species. Carbon-based life in general, and humans specifically, are flawed from birth, that we are inadequate to embrace the challenges that life brings to our doorstep. And because that is the perspective of many of the academics, the academic community, and certainly the technological community, that makes us victims in the world. And they're indoctrinating us, our generation, and now the new generations, into believing that we need something outside of ourselves to be healthy in life, to be successful in the world, to be successful in business, in whatever our chosen profession will be. And that makes us victims. Bruce, you and I have had this conversation many times. It makes us victims. And if you're a victim, you need a savior, and the savior is being touted as technology. So we now find ourselves in this time of extremes, and I think everyone knows we're living a time of extremes, with crises, multiple converging simultaneous crises. And the story is that we don't have what we need to deal with this, and that we need all of these things outside of our bodies. This is frightening for people, because if our sense of well-being hinges on the world around us, and that world is collapsing because it's unsustainable, then it is very unsettling to the world within us. And this is exactly, Anita, and I have to tell you, Anita, you and I haven't spoken for a while. I'm right there with you, with symptoms and with experiences. And so what I hope to bring is the shift that helps us to really begin to navigate well begins with a shift in thinking. Thinking differently about ourselves, our relationship to the world, recognizing that we are a hybrid species. We are infinite spirit and energy expressing through a finite material body. And the implications that come with that and the opportunities are extraordinary. So I will be bringing the science that is showing us how scientists now know this. For example, the cloning experiments with mammals. When they clone the mammals, and they clone the sheep, or they clone the cows, at first the new clones, they look identical to the others, but something begins to happen and they break down prematurely. Most of them live about 50% of the expected lifespan. And the scientists are saying, what's going on? The DNA is exactly the same. They're missing, and they're beginning to understand that there's something that is beyond the DNA, that is breathing life into the template of the body, of the genome. And that something is what we're calling spirit. It's what we're calling our soul's journey. And as we learn to embrace this through this extraordinary body that we have, that, I believe, gives us the tools to transcend in a healthy way the challenges that life has brought to our doorstep. So I will be sharing the science, some amazing new science. I'm writing a book right now, so this is all very fresh in my mind, as well as the techniques, practical tools. How do we access the soft technology within us of neurons, cell membranes, crystalline bone, that is self-regulated through thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, perspectives? How do we self-regulate this so that we are able to successfully and in a healthy way move beyond and transition into the beautiful new world that's emerging and create the template for our loved ones and our children as well? And as Bruce is saying, quantum physics is telling us we're not in this alone, we're all in this together. And each time one of us learns and implements even a little bit, everyone benefits. And when a lot of people do that together, we've got a paradigm shift in thinking and living. And that is what, for me, I hope to bring to this program in June. So in addition to recognizing that everything is our soul's journey, my portion of this is what I'd like to bring. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg. I mean, your words are always so inspiring and so much full of facts and spirituality, merging science and spirituality for decades now and sharing that with the world. And soon here again in Sedona. I'd like to take this time now to actually ask you, my friends, maybe Bruce, you can ask a question of Anita. And what do you feel you want to ask of Anita right now?
Well, it's hard for me, I'll tell you, so the reason is this, that when I wrote the biology of belief, there's a whole story about how we got here, how we got programmed, all kinds of things like that. And when I read Anita's fabulous book, and that was a one sitting, I couldn't put it down book, because Dying to Be Me, I read that, and at the end I said, oh my God, this is the woman who is the poster child for biology of belief. The woman who took her life to a different place and came back and created another existence on this planet, the kind of thing I describe in biology of belief. And so to ask Anita is like, Anita, I was enthralled from page 1 to the very end of the book. And I just want to say, if anything, not to ask you, but to honor you for, what an experience. And more importantly, the ability to translate that experience, that a public can read it and grab it and walk away with, oh my God, there's this miracle that we have and we didn't know. And you brought it to the front, and my colleagues here beside yourself, especially Gregg and Shamini, and there's a science. So I'm just going off now on my soapbox for a second, because the question is, well, what can I ask Anita? And I say, Anita, you have told me the most complete and wonderful story, and you're here shining and coming back from where nobody else wants to be. And it's so important because, of course, when I give lectures on biology of belief, people, a lot of it has to do with cancer. And people thinking, well, cancer, oh, those are genes that cause cancer. And it's like, no, genes didn't cause cancer. There's not even one gene that causes cancer. Cancer is a reflection of the life experiences and programming. And Anita's life story is like, when I started to read this, I said, oh my God, this is exactly what the biology of belief was all about. And what is so empowering is Anita was on the last day, essentially, of her life when all the doctors like, ooh, this is the end. And she comes back, and in a miracle of their miracle, for me, it's like now understanding spirituality and biology is the empowerment that we have. You are the expression of that empowerment, Anita. And that's why it's so important for us to be together with you, because the public, it's not we're telling the public, you've been there. And I just want to appreciate it. And that's not a question. That's just a direct appreciation. Thank you, Anita.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, when somebody told me about you and that you were talking about me, And I was blown away. And so I started to pay more attention to the work you do. And what I loved was that you brought science to what I went through, because one of the things that I was dealing with is people saying to me that, oh, your experience of the other side is just anecdotal. It's just anecdotal. I said, yes, but the doctors can't explain how I healed when I came back. So even if you guys don't believe that I crossed over to the other side, surely you need to be interested in how my body just healed, and figure out what it was that actually happened. But what I found is that when it came to pure medical, in the medical paradigm or medical science, they were so entrenched in their beliefs that it was easier for them to dismiss what happened to me, even though I had the medical records to prove it. It was easier for them to dismiss it than to actually go in and explore it. But I found that people like yourself, Joe Dispenza, Gregg Braden, and people who are in the newer sciences, the quantum sciences, were extremely interested in exploring this further. And one of the things I love about us all coming together, like Gregg mentioned, and even Shamini, that you guys bring the science in. And also Gregg mentioned that he will be talking about what he offers is the new science. And what I love about this is that I feel what I offer is the new spirituality, because one of the things that I speak about in my first book, Dying to Be Me, and also actually in some of my other subsequent books, is how a question that people often ask me is that, has this experience, having the near-death experience, has it made you more spiritual? And it always surprises people when I say, no, I was spiritual before. I was always spiritual, but it's changed my view of spirituality. And I realized that the way I was taught to be spiritual, which is the way most people are taught to be spiritual, worked against me and actually contributed to me being sick. So this is why I like to bring people a new brand of spirituality. And in this new spirituality and in your new science, I find that they meet. In the old paradigm, spirituality and science are on two polar opposite ends of a spectrum, of a continuum. They're polar opposite and they never meet. They're always battling with each other. And very often there's no middle ground. But I find with the new spirituality and the new sciences, they actually merge and turn out to be one and the same. That's why I love coming together with a group like you guys.
Anita, I think what you said is so powerful, because truly, I was just speaking with someone about this just before we met. And I said, science is a language, first of all. Science is not a religion. We're not supposed to be in scientism. And actually, there's nothing about science that is inherently reductionistic. That's the truth, right? Like everything, we've just been influenced by culture. So for a long time, we were influenced by this culture that separated us, that separated our body parts, that, separated everything. And actually the scientific reality of it is, that we're not separate. That's actually the scientific reality. So it's really not even about new or old. It's like you said, Anita, the new spirituality, is sort of opening with a wider perspective, a wider understanding, which you got through that beautiful experience that you had and you so masterfully, shared in that book. And like Bruce, I just have to share, like, I picked up that book and I could not put it down. I think I told you when I was reading it, it was incredible. And I know, speaking for my fellow scientists here, that when we start learning about what science is actually telling us, whether or not it's out in the mainstream yet, because sadly, like, we should all already know some of these things, but mainstream media, let's be honest, is not sharing some of what we're actually learning from science that goes way beyond reductionism and shows us the power, coming back to what Gregg was saying, that we don't have to be victims. Actually, the science is actually super supportive of the fact that, we truly are our own conscious creators.
Yeah. Shamini, I think, you're so right on. And it reminds me, Bruce, I don't know if you remember this, right before COVID, you and I did a large program that Elon produced here in New Mexico on native land. It was a beautiful program. And we were having this conversation with an audience of, there were over 1,000 people in the room. And there were some other presenters that were there as well. And it was during the break, there was a cardiologist in the audience that came up to the stage after I had been speaking about the neural network discovered in the heart, 40,000 sensory neurites, and its relationship to the brain and very specific frequencies. And the cardiologist came up to me and he said, "Why don't we know about this?" He said, "Why isn't this being taught in medical school? Why am I not bringing this into my practice?" And I said, "Well, you're here now, so you do know about it." But the point is, there is certainly a contingent of medical professionals who are less open to the new discoveries. For them, their profession is more static. They learned what they learned, and then that's what they're going to apply. But the reality is that science is a living body of information, and it's a living way of knowing, designed to be constantly updated if we're going to keep science honest. So we've asked science to tell us who we are. Science is giving us the answers. And the question now that we as a society must come to terms with is, will we accept the answers that the science is telling us? And I use the cloning experience as an example, because it's leading scientists to know there's something more to biological life than the biological life. There's a force that is acting through the life, directing the template of the DNA into the biology. And so now they have to say, what are we missing? And this is how science works. It will lead them, the honest scientists, it will lead them to the new story. And Shamini, whether or not it is shared in the classrooms and the textbooks, and Bruce, you left academia, you know this, they're not teaching what the discoveries are showing. And Anita, you illustrate this so beautifully through your experience. You put those professionals in a very interesting and maybe an awkward place, because something happened to you and they had a choice. They were at a crossroad. They either have to accept that what happened to you is something more than they've been led to believe, and that they will be changed in the presence of your healing, or they can completely blow it off, just discount it and chalk it up to, misdiagnosis, a miracle. And I've had MDs do that with me, say, I've had a healing, and they say, well, in the medical profession, we call that a miracle, have a nice life. And that's it, they don't pursue it. So I think this is the important thing. The professionals, I think, are more open if they can be presented with the information in a way that's meaningful to them, and our community as well, in a way that's meaningful and accessible to them, rather than using the polarized language of the past that comes. Our spiritual and religious traditions carry so much baggage right now, and we see this in our audiences all the time. And that's where I said the thinking is the foundation. The first, before you can reach all of these other amazing things, the way we think about ourselves and our relationship to the cosmos, our relationship to the universe, our relationship to our bodies, our relationship to one another, and whatever box we want to put that into, that's where the real miracle begins. And I believe that by coming together the way we are, dear colleagues, with our lifetimes, let's see, we probably have over 120 years of collective experience between us, possibly more, but at least 120 years of collective experience. And I think the diverse perspectives that we bring open the door for our community to feel comfortable taking a step, maybe beyond the comfort zone of what they've had in the past, And in that openness is where we can offer them the tools and the techniques then to apply these principles in their lives so they can prove it to themselves. And that's, for me, that's the joy that comes from this. Plus, it's just really cool to hang out. So I'm excited, and I'm really appreciating everything I'm hearing here.
Oh, thank you so much, Greg. And we all appreciate you, and we all appreciate one another. I mean, you have come out with such an open-hearted message always when you present, my brother.
Mm.
And I'd like, if not a question, an honoring. Shamini, what would you ask Greg if you put yourself in a participant and you only have one question at the conference you can ask? What would that question be?
Ooh, that's a good one, Elon. Was I'm talking to one of the world's most foremost experts in system science, human health empowerment, who is a heart-based leader, right? As well as an incredibly articulate human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear even a pretty accomplished musician. And now I have to kind of think about what one question I would ask him. I would say, particularly with respect to our fellow friends that are going to come and join us here, right? We've talked a lot about our empowerment and what the science is telling us about our human empowerment, the reality of the power of our spirit, and all of these things. And obviously, we talked a bit about how we're all going to come together here as co-teachers, right? Co-facilitators of this. What is the magic that we anticipate might happen for us that are coming in fully collectively now, not just us, right, as the co-facilitators here of this experience, but what are we learning about the collective nature of our so-called collective souls, and why it's important for us to actually come together in community like this, like we're doing in Sedona?
Oh, Shamini, that's a beautiful question. Thank you for your kind words. I'll be very honest, and some of you know, it's been a tough couple of months for me. This has been a difficult year on a lot of levels for a lot of reasons. And I say that because, Shamini, it's really good for me to hear what I just heard from you. And it means probably more than you even know. So thank you for that. I think one of the beautiful things that can happen from us coming together as a community, and literally when we invite our participants, we call them participants, we call them attendees, but the reality is they're family. And when we invite this family to come together for even the brief period of time, for 4 days, there is a magic that happens. And one of the places where it is most palpable and most tangible is when we begin working with our hearts. Because what the science shows us is that every human heart has an electrical and a magnetic field. So this isn't the esoteric, this isn't the prana and the aura, which may be connected. This is a conventional electromagnetic field that extends beyond the individual heart 3 to 5 feet into the room as the equipment can measure it. So when we're all sitting in a room together, there might be a couple of hundred people in the room. They're within 3 to 5 feet of one another. And that means they're sharing a heart field. And one of the things that people notice the most, even experienced practitioners of meditation, is that when they perform their practice in a room with many people of like mind, it's different. It feels different because the heart fields, the collective heart fields come together and they amplify and allow people to break through barriers of belief in the past and to develop a greater trust in themselves so that they can carry their own inner explorations to a deeper level. And so I think that we will certainly experience that in our group. And what the science tells us is it's not limited to our group, that we are contributing to the whole. And that was the other part of the subtitle for the program that we're going to be offering, is that we are contributing and anchoring that way of knowing in the field, in the whole. And it's not like it has to leave from where we are and go to Europe, or go to Australia. Once it's in the field, it's timeless. Time and space become almost meaningless in this field. And so it is there as a point of reference for other people to reach and to find and to identify with, and make it a part of their lives as well. So each time one of us or collectively, we trust ourselves enough to allow ourselves the deep expression of the deep truth of who we are, what happens is we open the door and make it easier for the next, and easier for the next, and easier for the next. And I think this is for me a big part of our program. We already have everything that we need. It's not about so much learning new things, it's about letting go of the beliefs and the perspectives that have kept us from the deep truth of who we are. So there's a subtle and powerful difference between reaching out to find something that we're told we don't have, and recognizing that we already have it, and it's the opportunity to let go of the beliefs and the walls that stand between us and that deep truth. And a lot of that simply comes from trust. Learning to trust our own intuition, for example. And I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. How we access states of deep intuition on demand through the neural network of the human heart to know what's true for us and what's not when we're inundated, as Anita shared so eloquently. We're inundated with information coming in at us, misinformation, disinformation, disparate information from all kinds of social media and friends and family and relatives. How do you know what's true? Well, we have an answer for that, and we've always had it. And I think as people learn to trust this, the hotline that we have to our own deep truth, that frees us then to develop to an even deeper level this inner technology, so that we can love fearlessly, and that we can be there and support our friends and family and loved ones in ways that we may not be able to when we're living in that fear. So thank you, Shamini, for the question. And I think it's the power of the group coming together and sharing consciousness, and literally sharing a heart field in a way that amplifies our experiences in a beautiful way.
That is so beautifully said, my brother Greg. And we all know you're so eloquent and so wise. It's just drinking your truth every time when we listen to you. And I'd like to have Anita, please, if you can share with us something more, if not a question to Greg, to yourself, and with all of us here.
Oh, thank you. I would love to. But first of all, I want to say that what Greg has been saying has been really speaking to my heart, because I feel that he's also experienced some things, some growth lately, the same way I have. And I didn't realize that because I haven't spoken to Greg in a while. So Greg, thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to say that also yesterday, I was speaking to a woman who is a psychic intuit. She's actually a medical intuit. She works with people on intuiting what's going on in their bodies. And she was telling me that a lot of people who are in this genre of work that we are in, a lot of people are experiencing a hit to their physical selves right now because of things that are happening in the world, because of of all the disparity and the conflict and everything that's going on. And I'm totally with you, Greg, about all of us being made to feel like victims. And interestingly, this was also one of the things that I have been speaking about lately, is exactly that our current paradigm that we're immersed in is so strong right now that it's made it harder to penetrate the paradigm, because the outer voices are so loud, and the outer voices, the external voices, are keeping us in victimhood, where we are being told things like we are not, that our body does not have the strength or the resources to take care of itself, that we don't have the strength. And we're made to feel powerless by all the loudest voices around us. So one of the things that I have been exploring is how to help people who have this higher conscious awareness that we do have a connection that is connected to the truth, the real truth, the inner truth, as opposed to falling victim to all the voices outside. But here's the issue that we face. The people who are connected to the inner truth, who have access to this inner voice and this inner truth, are the intuitive people. Intuition is a double-edged sword, because when you have strong intuition, you're able to intuit the messages that are coming in from your soul, from your higher self, from your guides, whatever we want to call it, and follow your soul's journey. But also your intuition on the confusion and the noise that everyone else is feeling is also very high. And this is the double-edged sword of being someone who's highly intuitive. And I know, Greg, and I'm sure the rest of you know what I'm talking about, don't you? You feel the pain that everyone else is feeling. You feel the confusion that everyone else is feeling. And this is how we get drawn, we get sucked from that connection back out to the louder voices outside. One of the things that I would love to see happening, even as a result of our event, is a growing movement where people are encouraged to connect with the inner voice, the internet or the infinite net. We want to see a movement of that, as opposed to a movement of people saying, oh, that's anecdotal. No, you got to listen to this, and then getting all these multiple confusing voices. As someone who's sensitive, as an intuit, we don't like to displease people. And that's how we get drawn out of that connection with our internet and sucked in to the loud noises outside. That's what we have to learn to differentiate. And that's what we have to encourage everybody to do, so that people are actually told, I don't know your truth. You need to connect to your truth. Instead of being told, I have the truth and you're delusional if you don't listen to me, which is the current message we're getting. So that's what I wanted to add.
That's so beautiful.
That's so beautiful, Anita. I just love you. And I think we all feel that, and we all want to come here to Sedona, experience more of that love, that soul connection, that elevated emotion, and also within all of that, find personal, even if they're small, for some people, find personal breakthroughs that just from one of the lectures or one of the experiences, or from one of the tools that you'll share with our family that will gather here. There's so much that would be given over these, not 4 days, it is a 5-day event, although it sounds like it's a 4-day. So from June 10th through the 14th in this beautiful city. And for those of you who haven't been here, what an amazing experience it can be to elevate your experience of Sedona with Anita Moorjani, with Gregg Braden, with Dr. Bruce Lipton, and with Dr. Shamini Jain. I'm so honored to have you all here with me in this time, and soon also here in person in Sedona. This event is not broadcast online. So if you want to experience this once-in-a-lifetime experience in Sedona, please come and join us here in June. If anyone else have closing words, my friends, please.
I would just like to offer a truism, and that is knowledge is power.
Mm.
And what's really important about the program that Ilan has put together here in Sedona is its knowledge of self, which is self-empowerment. So the information that is available is actually information that will help us go into the future, not by chance or accident, but by intention and desire to create that future. The knowledge is so critical because we have been misinformed and have some misperceptions, as Gregg mentioned, that we are operating from that take away our power. And therefore, look, knowledge is power. A lack of knowledge is a lack of power. And a misperception is a lack of knowledge. So there's this great opportunity for all of us presenters to bring you into a basis of new knowledge, a renaissance that is happening in science that is taking us from an old belief of victimization into a new world of master creation. And this is this opportunity because each one of Ilan's presenters here has a piece of something that when you take it in and start to realize it, it'll empower you when you leave this community to carry with you the knowledge of self, that self-empowerment to create, not by action, but to create heaven on earth, because that's all of our intention. And Ilan is offering us all a collective opportunity to share in wisdom. And I wanted to thank Ilan and just also mention I've worked with Ilan before, and all of us have. And one of the wonderful things is he puts on a great program for the audience, the participants that are there, creating an environment that really is healthy, happy, fun-loving, supportive, and we enjoy being there. So I hope you get a chance to come and share the joy with us all. Ilan's going to really just help us create a great foundation for a future.
Thank you, Brucey. I love you. And
Bruce, I love it when you talk that way. I don't know about you all. I feel like our event has just begun. It's starting right now. We're laying the foundation. And Bruce, knowledge is power. And I always think back to the words of Buckminster Fuller when he talked about change in the world. He said, you'll never change the world by fighting against the things you don't like. He says, if you want to bring change, find a new model that makes the old model obsolete, and people will follow the new model. Well, there's a battle for our very humanness that's on the line right now. And people ask me all the time, there's a battle for our thoughts. We all know that through the media, our battle for our beliefs through academia. People say, how do we push back? What do we do? And I go to Buckminster Fuller and I say, rather than fighting the things you don't like, as we learn to become the best versions of ourselves, as we accept this extraordinary potential that lives within each of us, then we are showing what that new model is, and we make the old ways obsolete without doing anything other than being the best version of ourselves. And it's a beautiful model. So thank you for what you said. And I just want to also chime in. This venue, Ilan, I want to thank you for this beautiful venue, because I've spoken there before, and I know some of our other speakers have spoken there before. And it is made for this kind of a program. It's not like, a big warehouse that is a horse show one week and a car show the next week and a spiritual show the next week. The sound is excellent. The lights are excellent. The air quality is good. It's got high ceilings, beautiful seats. It's an intimate environment. No matter how many people are in that room, it lends itself to a deeply intimate environment. And when I saw that's where we were able to offer our soul's journey, I was deeply grateful. So I'm going to invite everyone, if this speaks to you, we hope to see you in Sedona.
And talking about Sedona again and how to find us, you can find about the event on each of our beloved speakers' websites and social media, and of course on my website at shalohaproductions.com. We hope to see you there. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
I love you guys so much.